Hello and welcome. In this video, we will explore switch statements in C and how they can simplify your decision-making logic. We will go through a complete example, a menu-based calculator, to show the real-world utility of switch case blocks. Before we jump into the code, let us understand what a switch statement does. It evaluates an expression and jumps to the case label that matches the result. Each case represents a possible value of that expression. We use break to stop fall through into the next case. A default block runs when no other case matches. Think of it like the final else in an if-else chain. So as you can see, we have that a standard switch pseudocode here shown. Again, we use the keyword switch. We're passing in some integer value. And then we have as many cases as we need. So 1, 2, all the way up to n. In each case, there's some code execution, and then after that, there is a break. And again, as I said, the default is the last thing, and there is some code execution there. So now let us take a look at this calculator example. Let's do a quick breakdown here. So on line 1, or on line 18, we're including the standard header for input-output functions. On lines 21 and 22, we are declaring our integer for the choice, and then our float values for the first number, the second number, and then the result. On lines 24 through 29, we are prompting the user and giving them the choices. So 1 for addition, 2 for subtraction, 3 for multiplication, and 4 for division. And then we're telling the user their options. On line 30, we're using scanf to take in the choice as a decimal value. And then on line 32, we are prompting the user to enter the two numbers. And on line 33, we're taking in those numbers separated by space. On lines 35 through 59 are where we have our switch example. So here the switch statement depends on the user's choice. So then we handle with the 4 case labels. Again, case 1 handles addition and prints the formatted result. Case 2 handles subtraction. Case 3 handles multiplication. Case 4 handles division with a safety check to make sure we're not dividing by 0. And then the default case catches any invalid menu option like 5, 0, or -1. Again, each case uses break to prevent fall through into the next case block. Omitting break would execute subsequent cases unintentionally, often a source of bugs. However, for whatever reason, let's say you want the code, if you select 1, you also want the code in case 2 to execute, you would just not put the break. But for the most part, you want to have that break statement at the end of each case. And then finally, on line 61, we are returning 0. So let us compile this code using GCC and the name of our program, calculator.c, and then we're going to name it with the -o argument, and let's call it calc. As you can see, it compiled, and now we run that using period, / and the name that we given. So let's do addition first, with 1. Enter the two numbers, 3 and 4, for example. And as you can see, it outputs 7. Let's run it again. Let's do subtraction next. Let's do 7 minus 1, which is equal to 6. Then let's try multiplication. Enter two numbers. Let's do 2 and 3. 2 times 3 equals 6. And then finally, let's try division. Let's enter 4. Then let's do 10 over 2. And then let's test our divide by 0 logic. 1 over 0. And then it says division by 0 is not allowed. Finally, let's do an invalid input. Let's do 5. And then let's enter whatever. And as you can see, it says that I entered an invalid choice. Please select from 1 to 4. So why use switch statement instead of if-else? Well, first of all, it's cleaner when checking one variable against many values. It's easier to read and maintain, especially in a menu-based or mode selection program such as this. And it is slightly faster in some compilers for a long list of options. So some key takeaways. Switch is a better choice than if-else for comparing a single variable to many constant values. Always use break to prevent unintended fall-through. Use default as a fallback handler for invalid or unexpected values. And then some real-world applications can be used in menus, command parsing, and state machines. That wraps up our lesson on switch statements. Try modifying the example that I gave to include more operations or different data types like integers or even enums. If you found this tutorial helpful, do not forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.